I'm pleased to say that I'm not only a delegate from the NHBCSA, as we say in the trade, but I think we're a tiny union. We only have about 650 members, but I think as a result of that, I'm likely to be the only trans General Secretary of a union in the TUC. So go me. Um, Before I read the committee statement on demanding progressive change to the Gender Recognition Act, I would like to let you know how you can engage with me. There is a question and answer button at the bottom of your screen, and you can click on the box and post a question or a point or anything you'd like to raise, and I will try to summarize them later on. If there is, I will now like to read the statement from the committee. The TUC has a long and proud history of promoting equality for all of our members. We strive to end all forms of discrimination, bigotry, and stereotyping. We oppose any violence or intimidation, bullying or disrespect towards any group that faces discrimination from whatever quarter. And so it was in hope that in 2017, we saw the government announce its intention to reform the Gender Recognition Act 2004. We welcomed the consultation on reforms to the 2004 Act as an opportunity to make progressive changes to the law. The TUC is a democratic organisation, and our policy is set at our annual Congress. Our 2018 Congress provided that policy direction by approving a motion calling for progressive change to the Gender Recognition Act 2004. This policy position was reaffirmed at our 2020 Congress. Our democratically agreed position is therefore that the government should introduce a simplified, free, statutory gender recognition process based on self-declaration while maintaining the Equality Act 2010 as it stands, and that the government must support the rights of gender non-binary people at work and in wider society. We want it noted for the record that in the 2 years the government took to announce its response to the consultation, trans people were being forced to continue with the lengthy, humiliating and expensive process to change their gender. The government's handling of the whole process has had a negative impact. The length of time it took the government to respond to the consultation left a massive vacuum. During that time, some of the discussion around gender recognition in some quarters became bitterly divisive, with some seeking to divide the LGBT members of our community from their trans brothers, sisters and siblings. Groups continue to campaign against the proposed reforms to the 2004 Gender Recognition Act and seek to roll back the existing rights of trans people. We must not let this happen. We're deeply concerned that the lengthy wait for the government's response yielded proposed changes that fell far short of the demands in our Congress-agreed policy. We do not believe the government's proposed reforms will come close to meeting the stated aim of making the process of acquiring a gender recognition certificate kinder and more straightforward for the trans community. Trans people face physical and verbal abuse, prejudice and discrimination, marginalisation and misrepresentation. Unions have worked hard to provide practical support and guidance for reps and trans members, and unions' commitment to this work will continue. Our trans members have raised concern about the nature, quantity and intrusiveness of the current evidence requirements needed to obtain a gender recognition certificate, and the impact that meeting these requirements can have on their mental health. The current process of getting a GRC requires a medical diagnosis of gender dysphoria, and we do not believe being trans is an illness. The TUC believes the Gender Recognition Act should be amended so that the process of getting a GRC does not require such a diagnosis. The system also requires an applicant to provide evidence that they have lived in their acquired gender for 2 years, so-called real-life test. Our members have told us that this reinforces gender stereotypes in general and leaves trans people feeling that they must conform to these stereotypes. The TUC believes that the government must remove the requirement to live in the acquired gender for 2 years and make good its promise to make progressive reforms to the Gender Recognition Act 2004. We need a simplified, free, statutory gender recognition process based on self-declaration alongside meaningful support from government for the rights of gender non-binary people at work and in wider society.